Hi peeps, this is Junaid Guide to Knowing. It's been a year since I did my last video, and in that time I just traveled, studied more, researched more, get my game on, and decide now, well, I have content and I have the platform and the exposure to want to get these things back out to you all. And I just want everyone out there to share with me and join me on this journey of self-discovery. Personally, and to share the things I've gained in regard to the wider population of people out there which I can't reach physically. So I just thought I'd jump on and start to put content back out there. And in this first video, after 1 year, it is about how to study. It took me all my lifetime to get where I am to really know how to study. From school, sports orientated, never really interested in school for a reason unknown to me until now. I can see what those reasons are. I never really was really effective at school. I left school with very little qualification because I was sport orientated. To play football, semi-pro, was at a few professional clubs, didn't make it. And then I went on to college, and then I sort of progressed there, and my ability increased much there. But I also had a lot of help along the way from lecturers who sort of cared about me. I went to university and was successful after many years. However, a lot of things was not made clear to me in the way it is now. Had it been, I would be far, far more ahead of the game in my learning and aptitude naturally. And so now that I've learned this, I'm now passing this information on to my kids, and they're a lot more smarter now. My son at 7, he's just like a whiz, he doesn't have to focus too much on things. He just hears things and he never forgets it. He's in the top 5 in his school. My other son, who's 4, he's coming on. My daughter is 3. Amazing. 3 years old, she can count to 100. She knows several languages. It's amazing. But so I want to share my knowledge out there with people having problem with studying. And along the way, we all study, or say we're going to do something, and then we fall off the wagon. Why is that? Have you ever asked yourself the question, well, why is it that I did not complete that course I said I was going to do? Why did I not start this course that I wanted to do? Why didn't I complete this degree that I wanted to do for such a long time? Obviously, there's been some barriers. Educational system and the technology it has is not set up to identify these barriers. It's more set up as an institution to create barriers. And for people who are involved in the system, they're caught up in this, and it's all about memorization. Yeah, memorization is good. But if you keep memorizing something over and over, yes, you will remember it. But to apply it, where is the application? Now, the problem is anytime you learn something, you cannot apply it. You do not learn anything. If you studied anything and you never used it after you studied, then you didn't study it. Because what would be the point in studying something that you're not going to use? And what would be the point in studying something that you're not going to use, you're going to forget, and then you go do something completely different? You see what your time is all wasted. So right now, I thought, let me hop on and share this with you. And this particular topic is going to be a 3-4 tier video. But in this first video, I'm going to cover the 3 areas, barrier, but cover the first area in the first video, which this is number 1. So, how to study. There's 3 barriers. The first barrier, absence of mass. Absence of mass. That's the first barrier. Second barrier, gradient is too steep. Gradient is too steep. That's the second barrier. The third barrier, misunderstood words. Misunderstood word or words or wording. That's the third barrier. But in this video, we're going to cover the first barrier, absence of mass. Now, what is absence of mass? To become a successful student in an accomplished practitioner in any field, you first have to be able to know how to effectively learn. That's what I put it down to. So you have to be able to know how to effectively learn. By knowing and understanding, right, what these barriers are, and how to handle them, your ability to study and to learn is greatly increased. Okay? So what does that say? So the first barrier, absence of mass. By mass, we mean that the actual physical object, things of life, is missing, right? So what I'm saying here is the significance of a subject is the meaning or idea or theory of it. Okay, so education in the absence of mass, in which the technology will be involved, is very hard on a student studying, right? So this absence of mass makes you feel sort of squashed, feeling a bit bent, feeling sort of spinny, yeah, a bit dazed, right? A sort of feeling dead bored, exasperated. If you get my point, studying in which there is mass is absent, this is what I just mentioned above, will be very, very hard. So when that mass is missing and you're studying something which you can't conceptualize it, you can't see it, then that's one of the barriers to studying that particular subject. So what I would say is things like photograph help, motion picture help, right? But however, by no means photograph and motion picture is going to be the substitute in the way of printed page or spoken words. These are not a substitute, right, from the mass. Yeah. So this is not going to help you if you're studying a tractor, right, and you're seeing a tractor on a motion picture, if you don't actually physically see a tractor, right? So in order to study a tractor, you physically have to see a tractor to get mass. And mass means what's in your eyesight is virtually, these things look heavy, this is of this shape, this is made from these things, these are these colors, or this looks heavy, this bit looks light, this looks like it's made from this material. Do you see how the mind can start to understand when it says mass is missing and mass is present? So one of the first barriers to study is absence of mass. And so a lot of us study things from a book, right? So we read it, or we hear it, but we don't see it. So how can you really study that and understand it? And so this is what I want to make clear. The first barrier to study or to learning is absence of mass. If mass is missing, you will not effectively study that subject. You will not be successful in studying that subject. You will not be successful in using what you've studied in its application. Okay? You never will. And if you find that you are studying something and you just drop it, it's one of these barriers, one of these three barriers. But as I said in this video, I'm covering the first barrier, absence of mass. And in order to get mass, you need to have the physical thing. I cannot tell my son about an apple by showing him the picture or reading about it, and he doesn't see an apple. He hasn't felt the apple. He hasn't smelled the apple. He hasn't even tasted the apple. So you see, when that mass is missing, it creates this spinniness, this aberration and confusion of what it is to what it really is. And this causes a barrier. This causes a mental block. This actually causes physical reactions. Physical reactions in the way that you kick off, you just don't come to school, you don't come to college. That aspect is called blow off, but we'll deal with that in another video. But what I'm trying to say is it creates physical reaction, and this physical reaction affects the person and that student, and it will make that person don't want to study. It will make that person stop studying. It will make that person avoid any aspect of studying because of absence of mass. So I hope this video is clear on the first barrier to not effectively be able to study, and that's the absence of mass. So share, like, and subscribe this video, and then, you know, for the second video, in which I will cover the gradient is too steep, and in the third video I'll cover misunderstood words. And so after telling you about absent mass, I explained to you what the mass is. So in everything that you study, you must get mass on it, and that will clearly put your mindset in a good place to understand the subject in what you study, and being able to apply it from a theoretical point of view to practical aspect in regard to your study. Have a good day. This is Junaid, Guide to Knowing.